If a mediator could learn one thing from a trial lawyer, just one, what would you want it to be?
Ooh, it's a great question. A mediator. Could learn one thing from a trial lawyer. What would it be? I would say the answer to that question would be to understand the dynamics and everything that the client has been through. Um, Oftentimes as a trial lawyer, you're talking to the family, you're talking to the clients, and you spend so much time with them. And oftentimes they're never heard in the court system, the families and the other people that have been affected. And just like a mediator gets tons of cases, understand that the trial lawyer is in a very difficult position because they're the family's relying upon them. And so the mediator has to give that client the deference and respect that they deserve, and give the client, when you're in the private caucuses, the opportunity to kind of speak freely and vent to you in the same way they vented to us as counselors, because they don't understand the mediation process like we do. They don't really know the mediator like we do. And so sometimes they're a bit skeptical, like, oh, is the mediator for the other side, or are they on our side? And part of my explanation is saying that a mediator has to look at both sides. But I think a mediator that actually, when they come into a private room, rather than saying, Ivan, what do you think about X? Once I've told them, hey, feel free to ask my client any questions. I love a mediator that speaks directly to the client and really gives them a chance to get their feelings off the chest, because I don't think that always happens. And I know you do that, Patrick. And that's why I have so much respect for you, because regardless of whether the case settles or not, I feel like you always give all sides and clients a fair shake. And you always give the appearance that you've taken it seriously, that you've done the homework on the case. And that, just like I've said, this case is the most important in the world. I always feel like you give each mediation your utmost attention as if it's the only mediation you have. And that's what I really appreciate about you. And that would be my advice to mediators is give the clients an opportunity to talk to you.
I think that's excellent because at the same time, they shouldn't be passengers. They should be participants. They're called participants for a reason. And you don't want to ignore them. You want them to be able to voice what it is that concerns them and ask them questions, make sure they know what's going on. And they are ultimately in charge, right? They call the shots.
I tell my clients before every deposition, you know the facts better than anyone else in this case. I don't care if the lawyers are puffing their chest, trying to trick you. This is your life. You've lived it every single day. So there's no trick questions when it comes to such personal questions. So just be honest and be authentic and tell them exactly how you feel, and nobody can impeach you with the truth. So that's one thing I always tell the clients to do. And just like you said, I always tell clients, especially now since so much is done via Zoom, come to the motion to dismiss hearing, come to the motion for summary judgment, come to the motion for punitive damages, because I feel like the client learns so much about the case and they see you advocating on their behalf. And even though litigation is long and time consuming, if they see that, they feel so much better. And I tell my parents all the time that one of the things that makes me the happiest about my law practice is I've never had to withdraw from a case because a client and I haven't gotten along, or a situation where I haven't gotten paid, because I always take the time before I even take a case to really vet it and speak to the client in detail and tell them, hey, I'm going to expect you to answer my calls, speak to me every single week, go to court with me for hearings. I even have them sit in on the depositions as much as possible. Because again, this is opportunities for them to prepare. When you're listening to someone else being deposed, the client is sitting there for 4 hours and they're preparing for their depo. So if that's not the kind of lawyer they want, if that's not the kind of expectations they want, then I may not be the right lawyer for them. But I want them, we're literally going to war together in the trenches. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a client tap me on the shoulder in a trial or afterwards and give me great advice about the case. Because guess what? They're lay people just like the jurors. and they don't see things through the legal lens that we work with every single day. So I learned so much from my clients, and they know that. And I appreciate their cooperation and working with me every step of the way.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Meaningful Mediation Podcast. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Additional episodes can be found on YouTube and your favorite podcast channels. Until next time, less dispute, more resolution.